Dr. NGR Educational and Research Institute, University, Madras, Chennai. Dr. NGR Educational and Research Institute, University, Madras, Chennai.
A woman is the full circle. Within her is the power to create, nurture, and transform. Women's empowerment is intertwined with respect for human rights. With that being said, a very good afternoon to one and all present here. Hope everyone is safe and sound. Well, I'm Niveda Rajat, Assistant Professor from the Department of Human Resource Management, shall be your host for the day. It's my privilege to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor and speaker for the day, Ms. Sudha Ramalingam, Advocate, Madras High Court. Before we commence, the feedback form will be available in the YouTube description box at the end of the session. You are requested to complete and submit the form before 6 p.m. today. Later, the form will be deactivated. The e-certificate for participation will be sent to your registered email ID immediately. May I now request Dr. Jem, Head of the Department, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Niveda. A pleasant good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all. It's my pleasure to welcome you all for this one-day national level webinar on provisions in Indian constitutions for women empowerment on behalf of the Department of Human Resource Management, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, AICT. Heartfelt thanks to our founder chancellor, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam sir, and to our honorable president, engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar sir, and to all the executives for their support and motivation in conducting various programs. Hearty welcome and thanks to our eminent and versatile speaker of the day, Madam Sudha Ramalingam, Advocate, Madras High Court. Women have always been the strong one of the world. These words are true for many women who have achieved height in various fields. Madam is a living example for this. She is a very simple, humble, and a very wonderful woman. She is a role model and inspiration for all the women. Thank you so much for your acceptance, even in your busy schedule, ma'am, and we welcome you, ma'am. Special thanks to our Joint Registrar of Phase 2, Campus Dr. S. Ramalingam, and to our Dean, Dr. S. Manivandan, for their never-ending support. A very warm welcome and thanks to our Deputy Dean, Dr. A.R. Arunachalam, Deputy Dean of Academics, a very young and energetic Dean. Thank you for your presence and welcome, sir. Women are the backbone of all the family. As we all know, women play multiple roles as mother, wife, sister, doctors, lawyers, and so on. Without women, no family can survive and come well. Every empowering women is the key to economic growth, political stability, and social transformation. Empowering women is also essential to the health and social development of families, communities, and countries. Instead of mere words about women empowerment, our Indian law has created many provisions to uplift women. On the occasion of Women's Day, this webinar has been arranged by the Department of Human Resource Management to make known and enrich all of us about the provisions related to women empowerment. Ma'am, we all are waiting to hear it from you. Hearty welcome to all the participants who have registered from all over the world. It's my pleasure to welcome all the heads, faculty members, research scholars, students, and all others for our webinar. Heartfelt thanks and welcome to our technical support people, Mr. Ganesh Babu and Ms. Akshaya, for their never-ending support in conducting various programs. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you and happy Women's Day in advance.
Thank you, Madam. I now request Dr. Arunachalam, our respected Deputy Dean, Academic, to deliver the felicitation address. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So very good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute, Phase 2 campus, so I would like to welcome you all to this national level webinar on provisions in Indian Constitution for women empowerment. To start with, I would like to thank our Honorable President, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar sir, for giving us approval to conduct this today's event. And as well as I really thank him for his enormous support and motivation towards conducting a lot of online activities with regards to webinars, workshops, conferences. We have been doing a lot of things during this period in online mode. So all the departments of the university have been choosing different topics, new trends, bringing in resource persons from different sectors, like top MNCs, other universities, and a lot of other sectors. And today is another one more event. So at this moment, I would like to congratulate and appreciate the Department of HRM for taking this effort to choose a very important topic for today's society. So I really congratulate the head of the department, Dr. R. Jayam ma'am, as well as the other faculty coordinators, Mrs. Niveda, Ms. Ramya, and Mrs. Akshaya, who is taking care of the technical part. So really appreciate them for arranging this wonderful event today. And I also thank the today's speakers. I mean, the resource people, the resource persons or speakers always play an important role towards the success of a particular event. And I think that today's topic is again a very important topic. So I thank Shri Sudha Ramalingam, who's an advocate at Madras High Court, for spending a valuable time with us to talk on a very important topic today. So thank you so much, ma'am, on behalf of the university. I really welcome you for this national webinar, and I really thank you for accepting our invitation. So as you all know, I mean, when you empower a woman, you empower the entire society. So I mean, empowering women is always a key to the social transformation. I mean, we have been talking about a lot of things about women empowerment and uplift of women. So it's a very important area, because as you all know, women always play an important role in the entire community, whether it's a family or whether it's a workplace, whether it's a society. I think the role of women is always playing a vital role. So they are the key people to the society. So I think today's topic is a need for the hour, I could say. I mean, talking about the provisions in the Indian Constitution for women empowerment. So I think the department has chosen the right topic, and they have also invited the right speaker to this webinar. So on behalf of the university, I once again welcome all the participants for taking the time to register for this national webinar and spending your time to attend this webinar. So I wish the department all the best, and wish this event grants us success. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk a few words on this today's occasion, and also wish Advanced Women's Day for all the women through which we are going to celebrate on 8th March, Monday. So thank you all.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon Ms. Vasanthi, Assistant Professor from the Department of Human Resource Management, to introduce our eminent chief guest. Over to you, madam.
Good afternoon to all of you. I have a very pleasant duty of introducing our chief guest, Mrs. Sudha Ramalingam, Advocate, Madras High Court. Mrs. Sudha Ramalingam needs no introduction. She is very well known among the Royal Lawyers fraternity, yet the occasion demands. Bar standing of over 39 years, primary practice areas, family and matrimonial law, human rights, involved in several public interest matters, including challenges to custodial violence, police atrocities, encountered killings, prison reforms, medical negligence, violence against women. Appointed Advocate Commissioner by the Madras High Court to visit women's prison in Tamil Nadu and assess their conditions. Assisted rehabilitation of several Sri Lankan refugees who were detained in the camps in Tamil Nadu. Regular contributor to English and Tamil media, commentator and analyst, legal literacy, sensitization programs for professionals, government officials, and public and students. Involved in several law and social reform campaigns throughout career, including advocacy for combating violence against women, anti-corruption and clean elections, judicial accountability, communal and caste violence, and police reforms, etc. Closely worked with the mentor grassroots of and non-governmental organization. Responsibility held: former National Vice President, People's Union, Civil Liberties, former Vice President, Magali Satta Udavi Mandram, former Secretary, Women Lawyers Association, Tamil Nadu, former legal member, Tamil Nadu State Women's Commission, and Managing Trustee of Manonmani Trust, non-profit organization providing shelter home for destitute and elderly person. We wish you all success in your future endeavor, and over to you, madam.
Thank you, madam. Now the most awaited time has arrived. Without any further delay, I welcome our guest of honor and speaker for the day, Madam Sudha Ramalingam, to proceed with her presentation. Madam, we request you to take over the session and enrich us with knowledge.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to one and all. I first of all thank the Dr. MGR Education Research Institute, Dr. Jayam, Dr. Arunachalam, and Dr. Vasanthi, who had some good words to say about me also. So this is something which is very important. But every time, every year, March comes, and all of us think of women. Women seem to become special because on March 8th is our International Women's Day. But are we only thinking about women during March? And are we only doing some lip service? All of you will have to answer this, because if we have really reached our equality, if we have really reached our constitutional goals, if we have really been really liberated, we would need no day for this real celebration. When we are talking and greeting each other on International Women's Day, and this International Women's Day seems to be happening throughout March. It's not March 8th. We have started off much earlier, is it not? It's only 5th. But is it important or not to also celebrate, talk about it? I think it's very important. Though it could be seen as only a lip service, it could be seen only as an attempt to talk about it and forget it a little later. But talking itself reminiscences and makes us also get back to think about what are these challenges, how are we going to conquer them. So this takes me to also this year's theme for the International Women's Day. You know, the United Nations organization comes out with a theme for every year of Women's Day celebrations. This year is Choose to Challenge. So women will have to, and with the help of also our men, we'll have to ensure that we choose to challenge. Challenge what? This is a world where we have, UN itself says, a challenge world in an alert world. And from challenge comes change. So let's all choose to challenge, to forge a gender equal world, celebrate women's achievements, raise awareness against bias, take action for equality, challenge gender stereotypes, gendered actions or assumptions, equality in workplaces, sports, health choice, each women make women technologically advanced and also help her in greater innovations. These are what actually this year's theme for the International Women's Day has come up with. And from there, I go to the topic that's given for me. The topic, of course, they've already displayed it here. Indian Constitution and empowerment of women. So what does Indian Constitution really mean? And how does it empower women? Is it really empowering women or not? These are questions which will have to be answered. Definitely Indian Constitution is actually a very, very progressive constitution, one of the best written constitutions in the world. So what happens is, Indian Constitution starts with the premise that we are man and woman is equal. So next slide, please. Next slide. See, the Constitution of India lays down a framework demarcating fundamental political code, structure, procedures, powers, and duties of government institutions, and sets out fundamental rights, directive principles, and duties of citizens. It is the longest written constitution. So, as far as constitution is concerned, this particular Indian Constitution as such is a basic document on which every law in this country can be enforced or enacted. So, beyond constitution, you cannot bring in anything else. That is why whenever a new act comes up that is being challenged, and the court can say that it is strike it down as unconstitutional, or can say it is constitutional, you can go ahead with it, or even sometimes modify it. So the Constitution of India is actually a living document. Constitution must be a document that provides a framework of the government for the future as well. The Constitution has to be able to respond to the challenges that may arise in the future. The Constitution will always have something that is contemporary and something that is more endurable. See, what happens is, when the Constitution was written, it definitely is a dynamic one, a dynamic law which will give you also a perspective about how to deal with future. Say, for example, there have been several amendments to the Constitution, but within the basic framework of the Constitution, only to bring in new laws. For example, the recent episodes in the Indian police, which all of you would have been reading about, and IPS officer, a woman IPS officer of the cadre of superintendent of police, being sexually abused by the number 2 man in the IPS cadre, a DGP, a sitting DGP. This woman was a sitting SP, the man was a sitting DGP. And still, there has been a sexual harassment. So, what happened to it? This has been handled not merely by the Indian Penal Code, which is an older one, but also by the newly enacted act which talks about sexual harassment at workplaces. So, for the protection, prevention, and prohibition of sexual harassment at workplaces, a new law comes to being. How does it come? Only because the Constitution gives the room for bringing in new amendments, new laws, which would only be based on the spirit of equality of law and equal protection of law. That is the most important aspect. The text and spirit of the Constitution, which is very, very relevant, speaks mainly about equality of law and equal protection of law. See, the preamble to the Constitution itself says that we are an sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, which is to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status of opportunity, and promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So, fundamental rights, equality and non-discrimination are the fundamental rights. Next slide, please. So, we'll have to now talk about the fundamental rights. So, when you talk that is, these are inalienable rights, rights that a citizen has, which cannot be given away, which cannot be taken away by any force under the sun as far as in our country. So, one of the first, most basic fundamental right is Article 14. What does Article 14 say? Article 14 is equality before law and equal protection of laws. This is the most vital, most important fundamental foundation on which our entire constitution, our entire country's laws depend on. So this says that the state shall not deny to any person equality before law. So before law, everyone is equal, whether you are a man, whether you are a woman, whether whatever language you speak, whatever caste or community to which you belong, whether you are rich or poor, whichever class you belong to, whichever region you live in, whatever you are, there always, all of you are equal before law. And you are also equally protected, the equal protection of laws within the territory of India. So wherever you are, whatever you are, there is the state will have to ensure that there is equality before law and equal protection of law. So when you are talking about only equality, what about the special provisions which are coming about? How can there be special provisions when you are saying that all of us are equal? Can you also provide some reservation? Yes, the very enactment itself allows reasonable classification, but it prohibits discrimination. So reasonable classification would always mean that there should be an intelligible differentia and rational nexus as test of reasonableness. See, the equality itself is a dynamic concept. So this is the reason why and how, despite saying that everyone should be equally protected, there should be only equal laws, but there are special laws for women, special laws for children, special laws for physically challenged, special laws for different classes on the basis of the necessity. Say, for example, reservation for women at certain places like Panchayati Raj. in the local body elections, in the municipal elections. These are all possible only because Article 14 itself gives also way for room for reasonable classification, and but it prohibits discrimination. Article 15 speaks about no discrimination against citizens on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. So there can be no discrimination just because I'm a woman. Just because I'm a woman, I cannot be said you cannot go and do this work. Just because I'm a woman, you cannot be said you cannot go and stand there, sit there, do this, do that. This is the reason why. It is only because of this article now women are able to even get into armed services. Women are able to take up many jobs which otherwise we would not have been able to take up. So, no discrimination against any citizen on grounds of sex is a very, very important provision under Article 15 of the Constitution of India. Then Article 15.3 says laws can be made for special provision for women and children. So this is the exception which I was also talking about with Article 14 also. So definitely there can be special laws brought in only because if you feel that this women need special protection. At the same time, there cannot also be discriminatory laws. If there is a discriminatory law, that such laws will be struck down. See, there's an interesting case. It is a case against the provision of adultery, Section 497 of the Indian Penal Code. One Joseph Shine, he challenges this provision of Section 497. This is a very peculiar provision where adultery was made an offence under the Indian Penal Code, which is, of course, a colonial law, where only man can be punished. The woman who is having an adulterous relationship cannot be punished. Wife cannot be punished. The only the man who has a relationship with a married woman without the consent of her husband can be punished under this section. So this was considered to be definitely the biased law. So this particular provision was actually struck down by the Supreme Court of India. So special, and also we find special enactments like Maternity Benefits Act, Prenatal Conception and Diagnostic Techniques Act, POSCO, Tamil Nadu Prohibition of Women Harassment Act, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. These are all special acts which have been made possible only because of this Section 15.3, which allows that special provision for women and children can be made through laws. Then Article 16. Coming to Article 16, it is equality of opportunity for all citizens in matters of public employment. See, as far as government employment is concerned, there cannot be any deprival of any posting just because a person is a woman. There's a very famous case of one C.V. Muthamma. She was an IFS officer. In those days, an Indian Foreign Service. In those days, what they would do is, if it is a woman who is an Indian Foreign Service officer, she can, if she wants to marry, she has to get the permission of the government, and she will. This is this is something which is atrocious. If it is the IFS officer is a man, he does not need to get any permission. Only if it is a woman, she has to get permission to be married, to live with her husband, if she wants to continue to be an IFS officer. This was challenged by C.B. Muthamma, and so Supreme Court said no prior permission is necessary to marry. When man is not asked to go for any permission, this is gender discriminatory, and it was struck down. Likewise, with Air India, used to have a lot of curbs with relation to women employees, like mainly air hostesses. Retirement age of women officers and air hostesses was just 35, and she was not allowed to marry. And when this was challenged by one Nargesh Mirza, what happened is the Indian Air India said, no, we want them to be safe. We do not want them to, if in case they get married and they become pregnant and then they are flying, it may be very risky for their lives, so on and so forth. So they said, used a sort of a paternal instinct. This is what happens in many matters. In the guise of keeping a woman safe, in the guise of seeing that women should be given special care, they deprive the woman of her choice. They deprive the woman of her liberty to do what she wants to. So the Supreme Court said, no, this is not fair. Retirement age should be the same as men, and she can definitely marry and get along and still be employed as an air hostess. Mm, Article 39. This is men and women must have equal and adequate livelihood means the basic facilities to survive, livelihood, example, food, shelter, healthy living, public distribution system should all be made available for everyone. So women should not be deprived anything just because she is a woman. So there should be adequate means of livelihood. Basic facilities should be given to men and women equally. Equal pay for equal work. This is also very, very important. Equal pay for equal work for men and women is something which has never been there. I feel despite this law of Equal Remuneration Act, which came into existence in 1976, is not really followed in letter and spirit. More often than not, many corporates do not even reveal what the salary of other their employees are. They are even asked to sign confidential contracts of confidentiality where they are not supposed to discuss about their pays. So what happens is in the payment of wages, there is definitely a sort of a discrimination, and we find it also in our own unorganized sector. Organized sector, which could be scrutinized itself, is like this means. What about unorganized sectors? Definitely, women employees in construction industry or in agriculture and other unorganized sectors are paid much less than their male counterparts. In fact, when you see a construction work, it is a woman who carries all heavy things on her work on her head and moves around and provides everything for the mason to just place the bricks and put the mortar, the cement mortar. The cement mortar is provided by the women, the bricks are being provided by the woman. So the heavy work is done by the woman, but her work is not recognized at all. So this is where Equal Remuneration Act is very, very important. Equal pay for equal work in India and wage discrimination between permanent and temporary employees are definitely disallowed as per this constitution. Then we also have to think about the fundamental duties which are also enshrined in the Constitution of India. Article 51A, it says every citizen to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. So, 51A subsection E would say to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or sexual diversities, to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of woman. What is the dignity of woman? That itself is a very subjective perspective. What I think is very dignified may not be seen as a dignified thing for another person. So the Constitution speaks broadly about to promote harmony in the spirit of common brotherhood. It says you will have to ensure that and renounce practices or derogatory to the dignity of woman. But every day we have honor killing. Every day we have people saying, "Oh, this woman is dressed so badly. Oh, why is she going out late in the night? Oh, why is she found in the midst of her male counterparts?" This is something which they should definitely not be encouraged. But this is what is happening right now in the middle of the sexual harassment complaint which has happened. A sexual harassment which has happened to an IPS officer, a woman IPS officer. It's so difficult to even go about supporting and talking to her. What has happened is quite a number of press media talks about her so indecently, and they start coming out with parallel stories which are highly defamatory and uh, insinuations against her conduct and her character. This is something which happens almost every day. Though the Act says victim woman's name should not be published, it's being published. She is named, she is shamed, she is subject to all sorts of unnecessary and avoidable questions and comments. This, I think, will have to be changed, and any practice which is derogatory to the dignity of woman should definitely be done away with. And if done, is definitely unconstitutional. And we should also ensure that there is real equality. Equality and right to pursue opportunities is something which we'll have to think about very, very seriously. The Constitution actually speaks about equality but does not really give us equal reservations. This 50% reservation, which we would ideally want to, is not there. 33% reservation has been brought about by the 72nd Amendment, I think, wherein only the elected representatives to panchayat bodies and municipalities should be definitely at least 33%. So 33% reservation for women are also being asked for in the elected representations of the legislatures, both the parliament as well as the assemblies, state assemblies. This is definitely the Women's Reservation Bill, which seeks one-third legislators in parliament and state assemblies to be women, was moved as 108th Amendment Bill. But definitely till today, it has not come into force. Now, people talk about if you're going to talk about giving these men equal, or even if there is going to be 33% reservation, look at the panchayat presidents, panchayat elected representatives, the panchayats and municipalities. They are not merit based, they are only male proxy representation. They are only acting as per their husband. There are also instances where the husbands or their fathers or the brothers do not allow the elected representative to go and sit in her seat as the president or council member. These people go and sit there and then they just make these women puppets. Yes, it would happen. It's only a teething problem. It is not a problem which can't be surmounted. In the beginning, not all women are able to just come out. It's only those women from political backgrounds, in the families with political backgrounds, are being pitted as candidates in these reserved constituencies by their male counterparts. That is why this is happening. But definitely it is changing, and it is changing for the better. Equality and right to pursue opportunities. This cannot actually exclude women from opportunities for the sake of their safety. Now, see, in the guise of saying that you you'll have to be very safe, you can't be in this place at this time, and this is not a safe environment. Protective, in the guise of protection, certain laws are also being enacted. One such thing happened in Maharashtra. This is a famous hotel association case. What happened is Maharashtra brought out a legislation, and also they said that these women who work in the bars, dancers and others, they are not very safe, and their long hours, the late hours of work is also not good. So what they said is because we'll have to ban these dances in these beer bars, and they went on to pass a protective law where they banned women as dancers and servers as waitresses in these beer bars, in the liquor bars. So this was taken up to the Supreme Court. Then the issues raised there were very interesting. I'll read them out. Because of this legislation, there was a complete ban on dance in beer bars of the state, which violates the fundamental rights under Article 14, 15, 19, and 21 of the Indian Constitution. Stringent conditions imposed on by the government for obtaining the license, then how one should be able to enjoy his right under Section 19(1)(g), freedom to practice any profession, occupation, or trade, complete ban of alcoholic drinks in bars, harsh punishments under this new legislation, although punishment related to obscene acts is already mentioned in the Indian Penal Code. Isn't installation of CCTVs in bars infringes an individual's right to life and personal liberty guaranteed under Article 21. So these were the issues actually raised in this particular, well, they challenged this act. And in the judgment, Supreme Court very clearly brings out very poignant alterations. They say, and it was held, that there can't be a total prohibition of dance in beer bars. Supreme Court relaxed the terms and conditions associated with the grant of license. A complete ban on serving of alcoholic drinks was also prohibited as it is considered disproportionate and arbitrary. CCTV cameras were allowed only at the entry of the beer bars. Condition of opening such places 1 kilometers away from educational and religious institutes was also removed as it infringes Article 1919. Showering of currency notes and coins was prohibited in dance bars while allowing that tip can be given by customers to the staff. Court made it compulsory that there must be a written contract with the employees and wages are to be transferred in a bank account every month. Such contracts are to be deposited to the licensing authority. Obscenity is already punishable under the Indian Penal Code. Indian Penal Code was actually enacted in 1860, mind you. So, any other law giving punishment for the same leads to the invasion of Article 14 of the Constitution. Hence, with these modifications, of course, women were allowed to continue to dance and also continue their avocation, and also the the Supreme Court made it compulsory to have written contracts for their wages. So this is very important. And their wages were to be deposited through bank accounts, their bank accounts. So which makes it also compulsory on the part of the employer to definitely give the amount and not take it away. So this progressive judgment of the Supreme Court actually ensured that through the legislation also we can get better deals for women and women in combat roles in armed forces. This is an ongoing thing. We have only few women in armed forces, and they are also not given really important posts, especially combat roles. But now the Supreme Court has said that they should be given definitely better roles, and if they do desire so, in combat roles also. And they make provisions and facilitate their participation in public sphere. See, what has happened is we now have the Maternity Benefits Act, Sexual Harassment of Protection and Prohibition of Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act, and this act which protects you at your workplace mandates that every employer, or if in cases of women who are employed in work which are not within the framework of any corporates or other places, the district administration will have to form the district complaints committee or the internal complaints committee by the employers. And this internal complaints committee will have to take up any matter, any sexual harassment complaint seriously, and should be every ICC will also have to have not merely their employees but also an outsider, an NGO or an activist who will have to also be a part of the a member of this ICC. So every complaint which comes up will have to be taken up very seriously only. But is it really being done so? Is $1 million question, of course. So another thing that we'll have to also talk about, is that now our entire next slide, please. We India is a member of the United Nations organization. So we also have some conventions and mandates given to us through the international law. Mainly what you see is our entire directive principles of state policy itself is in consonance with our commitment to the international laws. What we see is there is this Convention of Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. These things give a mandate for the Indian government also to act enactments in consonance with the international commitments to which we are committed to. If you look at the Vishaka case, that is from which the Sexual Harassment Act itself comes up. It gave set the guidelines to all employers as to how you should deal with any complaint at the workplace. Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act actually does not tolerate any harassment. It talks about zero tolerance for sexual harassment. constitution of internal complaints committee I spoke about a little earlier, anti-sexual harassment committee at every workplace and education institution, stems from Article 14 and 21 of the Constitution. Women cannot meaningfully be equal in workplace if there is no protection against sexual harassment. So, unless we have an atmosphere where you would be treated equally, where there will be no harassment, where you can be safe, you feel safe also. You are not going to have an equal society at all. So this is something which is very important, which comes through our mandate through the international law and the domestic laws. Violence against women, laws stem from Article 21, right to life. World Health Organization says violence against women is a public issue of epidemic proportions. So there are lots of statistics which are available. If you just Google, you can find out. Globally, they say 1/3 of all women to 70% of all women have faced physical or sexual violence. Indian Penal Code talks about gender violence, sexual violence, which is punishable. Then in Tamil Nadu, we have a special act, Prohibition of Harassment of Women Act. This was passed in 1998. This actually was preceded by an act against eve teasing, which actually was the product which came into force after the death of a college student, Sarika, who actually was uh, abused. She was eve teased and then pulled by some arrogant rowdy elements. And when she was going to the Etheraj College, and she actually succumbed to the injuries which happened due to the eve teasing. So immediately after that, we had this new eve teasing act, and then after that, the finding that eve teasing is the term itself is very what to say, it's not really serious. They brought in the Tamil Nadu Prohibition of Harassment of Women Act 1998, which has even been invoked in the recent episode of the two IPS officers. Stranger violence and intimate violence are prohibited. So, civil remedies and criminal remedies for violence against women are there. See, for example, this is something which is also very important in the sense when a harassment happens. To take the example of this case, which is on hand itself, because which is current, I'm referring to it quite a number of times. If there is going to be any sexual harassment, or that it could be dealt with four-pronged way. That is, one, through an FIR, first information report, registered by the police, and prosecution can get into the shoes of the victim complainant and prosecute the accused respondent and ensure that a case be filed, charge sheeted, and the punishment be secured through the court of law. The second is by a domestic inquiry, because every organization, every employer, generally every organization has its own service rules. So through the service rules also, domestic inquiry could be done, and necessary actions be taken against the employee through their own service laws, their own service rules. And the third would be by an inquiry by the ICC, that is the Internal Complaints Committee. So all these three things could run parallelly with each other. So there is no necessity to say that just because there is an inquiry on the domestic inquiry fund, you need not have ICC, or because these two are there, you need not have the Indian Penal Code or the Tamil Nadu Women Harassment Act being invoked, and necessary penal action be taken. So all these things could be coupled together. Though separately, though parallelly, they can run parallelly and punishments be taken from each point of view, because ICC cannot give any punishment. ICC is only recommendatory. The domestic inquiry can, through its own service laws, service rules, can give punishments. And as far as penal action is concerned, only the courts can give. So all these things, three things, can go simultaneously, parallelly also. So only the pathetic thing now is what we see is that only 1% of sexual violence is being reported. If only 1% is being reported, and that itself is so much, just imagine how much we suffer and how much women will have to do. So the challenge before us is really much more. So this year, to choose to challenge is something which is very, very important. I think this International Women's Day celebrations should start with resolution in ourselves, wherein we tell to ourselves and tell to others that hereafter we are not going to sit down and accept anything. We choose to challenge of the discrimination, challenge the atrocities, ensure that there is no discrimination, ensure that there is an equal world which we are going to create. And that should start from us, not from anybody else. Let us now decide that we will not ask any woman, why were you there? What did you wear? How were you standing? How were you sitting? With whom were you there? What is your agenda behind? No, the woman is equal. Woman can go anywhere where the man goes. She can wear what she likes. She can be at any time, anywhere, wherever she wants to be. There's, it is not the right of the man to take advantage of the woman just because she is not clad the way he likes to her to be dressed up in. But we also see young children, even babies being abused sexually, old women being abused sexually, trans women being abused sexually. So, what is this? Talking about only her dress, her age, her place, and her attire and her demeanor? I think we'll have to stop that. Let's think about women as equals, and equality should be in your mind, in your thought, and word. With these words, I think I'll stop here. There are any questions, I'm ready to answer. Can't hear.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session. I request participants to put the queries in the chat box so that ma'am can answer your questions. Ma'am, YouTube, you can see the comment box. So they have given the beautiful feedbacks. So wonderful session, useful seminar, like that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Participants can put your questions in the chat box so ma'am can answer your questions. Do participants have any doubt? Ma'am, I think there is no question and answer session, ma'am, because participants are very clear with your topic and they are giving a wonderful feedback. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am,
Yeah,
for
I
your.
would only like to then add one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
One
Yes,
thing,
ma'am.
of
Sure.
course, none of you have asked for it. I just thought because it is not all the I have to also talk about is ensure that there is a scientific inquiry within you. We have to become logical. We have to become scientific. The scientific temper is something which the Constitution also speaks about, but we have not really imbibed it into us. We always feel that woman is not really equal. And but which is against science, and kindly also ensure that you'll be bereft of all superstitions, unless you drive yourself out of your ideas of any superstitious ideas and become really scientific. We are not really going to be very balanced, and that balanced ideas are ones which will really give us equality. Thank you.
Ma'am, one participant have asked one question. How can the policy maker will ensure the women employment, especially weaker session?
You have to ensure see, that is why we are also talking about even 50% reservation in public sector in all and in all state appointments, because as far as private employment is concerned, they may not be able to directly ensure that there is equal representation and there is reservation, but because there is also a freedom of to conduct your own business, the freedom to and choice for you to do things by on yourself. But as far as public employment is concerned, you will have to ensure that there is no depravity just because a person is a woman, and you'll also ensure that at least there is going to be at the time being we are talking about 33% reservation, but later on it should definitely be even 50% reservation till we really get the real reservation. I mean the real target, till we reach the target, we need that reservation. See, just like if you have a polio-stricken person, you need special shoes and other equipment for them to just raise up and walk and talk, walk and move. Likewise, when you are disadvantaged, you'll have to ensure that the advantage is given with that. That's what you talk about as equity, not merely equality. There is a difference between equality and equity. Bring in equity, then only you will have equality.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
And somebody is asking whether provision to get
Uh,
right on husband's property. What is it? The first one would like to know how to protect from psychiatric centers which act as kangaroo courts.
Kangaroo
See,
court.
kangaroo courts or anything else, we need not go and succumb to it. If you are being forced by any external element, or even in your own family, if a woman faces any discrimination, she can definitely report it. There are several centers now. Actually, what is happening is there are several NGOs which are helping women. There are also the laws. You can even go, every court premises has got legal aid services authority, the state legal aid services authority, district legal aid services authority. These people are all willing to help women, and you have in your fingertips, you just call 100, you just call women's helpline. There are so many, there are one-stop centers in every district as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned. There are shelter homes available, so it's not as if women have no place to go at all. Earlier on, women suffered a lot because they did not know where to go also. But now we have also the Domestic Violence Act, Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act. So where women can also seek for free legal aid, protection orders, injunction orders. She can ask residence orders. Everything is available. We'll have to only surf, not even go outside. From the comfort of your home, from your mobile phone itself, you have apps to even prefer complaints. So definitely, if you seek for help through these organizations, you can get. And no kangaroo courts can ever do anything against you if you stand up. So that's something very important. As far as property rights are concerned, somebody has asked, one second, what's that question? Let me just see. Is there any provision for women to get right on husband property if she is abandoned by her husband? As on date, we do not have a right to simply ask for husband's property, but definitely the woman can seek for maintenance through laws, and she can also seek for compensation through the Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act for financial losses that she has suffered. Economic cruelty is considered as a domestic violence. So, though may not be able to ask for 10% of your husband's property when he is alive, if he dies without leaving a will, then of course she is one of the first class legal heir, and she is entitled to succeed to his property as one of the first class legal heirs. But otherwise, she is entitled to seek maintenance, litigation expenses, and also compensation.
Yes, I think there is no more question.
Somebody says, is there any provision to stop
Yes.
media who harass women by asking embarrassing questions? See, embarrassing questions the media should not ask, but there's no law to prohibit them from asking embarrassing questions, but we can definitely snub them immediately. Why should we be answering such questions? I don't understand why. and everything can't be curbed only by law. We also talk about fundamental rights to freedom of speech and expression, fundamental right to peaceful assembly. All these things should not be also nipped fully, but we should also know how to use them properly.
So that you have answered all the questions, so we can wind up the session. So I thank you so much and for accepting our invitation and delivering a wonderful session, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, madam, for delivering a wonderful and an enriching session. Your session was highly successful in the sense that it reached all our participants effectively and helped them to understand the suitable provisions as laid by our Indian Constitution in the context of women empowerment. I now call upon Ms. Ramya, Assistant Professor from the Department of Human Resource Management, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Ms. Ramya.
Thank you, Ms. Niveda. Good afternoon to all. Saying thank you is more than good manners, it's good spirituality. With that being said, I deem it honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Department of Human Resource Management for this one-day national level webinar on provisions in Indian Constitution for Women Empowerment. Heartfelt thanks to our management and to our Honorable President, Engineer ACS Arun Kumar, and all other executives for rendering their support for conducting various programs. A special thanks to our eminent speaker for the day, Madam Sudha Ramalingam, for a wonderful and valuable enriching session related to provisions in Indian Constitution for women empowerment. It was an eye opener for all of us to make know about various provisions in related to women empowerment. Thank you so much, Madam, for your presence and for sharing the informative information. Hearty thanks to our Joint Registrar, Dr. S. Ramalingam, respected Dean Dr. S. Manivandan, Deputy Deans Dr. A. R. Arunachalam Academic, and Professor K. Sandal Kumar Administration for their continuous support in conducting various programs. It's my honor to thank our Head of the Department, Dr. R. Jayam, for providing the opportunity to deliver vote of thanks. Special thanks to our energetic participants for your presence and continuous support. It's my privilege to thank Madam Asanti for a wonderful introduction about the speaker, and thanks to Ms. Niveta Razin for a wonderful mastering of the webinar. Last but not least, my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Ganesh Babu and Ms. Akshaya for the technical support, and I thank all others who have supported us in all of the way. Be thankful for what you have, and you will end up having more. With this quote, I'm finishing my vote of thanks. Happy Women's Day in advance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ramya. At this happy moment, we would like to present our appreciation certificate to our chief guest. I request Ms. Akshaya to display the appreciation certificate.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Akshaya. The feedback and assessment form is available in the YouTube comment section. You are requested to complete and submit the form before 6 p.m. today. Later, the form will be deactivated. The e-certificate for participation will be sent to your registered email immediately. We have come to an end of the program. Hope everyone has gained knowledge. With the satisfaction of presenting a good webinar, we wish to sign off and meet you in the next program. Don't forget to submit your feedback form and subscribe our YouTube channel, Dr. MGR University Face to Digital Learning, for further updates about our programs and videos. Thank you.